Welcome back to the channel, guys. Welcome back to each and every one of you. I hope you guys are having a lovely day. Welcome back. Today we are going to be looking at Back 4 Blood. This is the closed alpha test, so take everything you see with a grain of salt. This is the alpha, not even the beta, so it's very early access. But I was lucky enough to get in via a friend in my Discord. Shout out to 7HatDeadCat, who gave me one of his extra codes that he had. So we're going to be able to take a look at this game in its closed alpha state and give you guys a sense of what to expect from the game, what the performance is already looking like, and all that kind of stuff. So if we pop into the actual graphics menu here, we see that we have the windowed mode. We have, of course, the typical full screen, windowed, borderless, or windowed mode. And you have your resolution picker here, where you have all of the different resolutions you can play at, which I like it. You have a lot of different choices, which I would expect from a modern game. You have the quality presets here. You have epic, high, medium, and low. And the only difference that we can visually see in the menus changing here, there's no like ability to scroll up and down. This is every setting you have. And so the only actual difference between any of these settings is the fact that the actual resolution scaling down here goes between 100, 87, and 71. And that's it. But in my opinion, if the devs are watching this, I don't understand why you would tie the quality of the game to the resolution scale. Even if I were to play the game at low settings, I would never turn resolution scale down. But maybe that's just me. I'm the kind of person that at 1080p, I would never turn my resolution scale down if I were to play in the low settings. Like, I would never tie those two together. I think having the option to actually turn the resolution scale down is good, but I would not tie it to the quality preset, because then you're going to have people who are playing on like low or medium, and they're going to complain about the game looking fuzzier than normal. So I wouldn't tie the two together, but we also do get VSync, which is nice. We get a field of view slider, brightness, motion blur, so you can kind of adjust that. Super fine too, like a fine tuning of it as well, which is nice. So if you're the kind of person that hates motion blur, you can turn it like fully off if you want to, or if you only want a little bit, you can turn it to like 0.1, 0.2, 0.3, like a super subtle motion blur if you want to. You have the gamma slider here, so you can adjust how bright the game actually is. And then of course the final slider here is the resolution scale. So we're going to go ahead and leave the game on the epic settings, resolution scale 100. And the sharpening, I don't know if I want Fidelity FX or off. That's your only two options here for sharpening. But I guess we'll just try Fidelity FX to see how it looks with that and maybe go from there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the game here. These are the miscellaneous settings, by the way, if you're wondering about that. The audio settings, you've got the voice test, you got push to talk on, mic volume, voice volume, all that fun stuff with master volumes, all your different volume sliders, which is very good to see. Very good to see indeed, because some games really just don't care about audio sections, so you only have like, the only volume slider you have is like the master volume, or you only have like, you know, music on or music off. You don't get an actual slider for music or whatever, so really good to see that you have actual sliders for all of these settings too. But without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into a game. So I'll see you guys in just a quick second once I actually figure out how to start the video game here. Alright, so we're now in game. We have all of the bots staring at us, and this game looks pretty good, I gotta admit. Graphically, not too bad. Not too bad at all. Honestly, better than I was expecting for graphics in this game. Alright, so I adjusted some of my settings real quick, my FOV and my mouse settings and stuff like that, so that way it feels a little bit more smooth, but graphically, not too bad at all. Let me see if I can get my my MSI numbers on the actual screen here. Alright, so I got my settings up here with the MSI Riva Tuner numbers up in the top left, and we're in the 130s, 140s, which explains why it just feels so smooth, because it is, it's running extremely well. It's not even flexing either part of my computer. I mean, at times we're using about 50% of our CPU and 40% of our GPU, but it's really not flexing either or. It's barely using any VRAM at all. Under 4 gigabytes of VRAM, actually. We're using 3.3, and we're using under 10 gigabytes of regular RAM as well. So at least in this one interior spot here, once you first load in, it's running really smooth. I gotta give them credit for optimization. The game looks beautiful with the texture quality on things, so it's running really nice. I gotta give them that. Game feels good too. Aiming down the sights feels really smooth. I like it. It's not jittery. There's no animation bugs. There's nothing really. It just feels pretty solid. But of course, this game is only going to get interesting for the performance side of things once we go outside and have all of those zombies trying to eat our brains. Alright, so final thoughts on this little interior. It's gorgeous. I like it. It's smooth. It runs nice. I love it. It looks good. Feels good so far. Let's go ahead and exit the actual safe room here and see how it feels. So quick little confession for you guys. I've actually played very little Left 4 Dead. So I'm not quite sure what we're doing besides surviving and shooting zombies. Okay, there we go. I actually had to adjust my my ADS sensitivity because doing this was really awkward for me. So let's go ahead and get back into the action. Again, game is gorgeous graphically, man. Alright, so my team is doing an excellent job finding things. I have done nothing besides shot a few zombies so far. So I'm now noticing our performance side of things, we're in the 60s. So I'm not sure what it actually is about this game, if it's supposed to be like this, but it's not using any more than like 30 or 40% of my CPU and my graphics card, but yet I'm only in like the 60s when there's a lot of stuff going on. Like, it's not using any more of my computer, but it's dropping frame rate, so I'm not sure if it's on purpose or not. So yeah, I think that'd be like my biggest concern about this game is how well it's going to actually utilize some of the more high-end hardware. My CPU isn't really that high-end, but it's barely scratching my 3080, and yet I'm only getting like 60 to 80 FPS. So, of course, it is the alpha, so there is bound to be more optimization at some point, but as of right now, at least, it is a little worrying. But outside of that, we're still not using more than like 3 gigs of our VRAM, which is really impressive. Also, in case you were wondering, I am dead because I suck at these games, so yeah. Alright, so what I think I want to do, just for poops and giggles here, I want to switch over to 4K or 1440p, either one, and see how that handles it. See what this game can do on like 4K or 1440p. Alright, so now we're in 1440p here. We've got the numbers still up top. I might scale them up just a little bit so they're a little easier to read for you guys. Let me go do that now, actually. Alright, so yes, now we have 1440p. The UI in the top left corner is now scaled up correctly, and we can go ahead and ready up for the next round. So 1440p, still running 140 FPS in this main little interior section here, but we are using way more. We're using like double the amount of our graphics card at 1440p, so not too bad. Not too bad of a scaling. Maybe this game really just is that easy to run, and is meant to be played in like 4K or something. I quite don't know. I mean, I know this graphics card is kind of overkill for 1080p, so it makes sense that this kind of a game would not even be stressing my 3080 in 1080p. It would be only really working itself in 4K or something like that, so it makes sense. Although I do know that this graphics card is a bit overkill for 1080p, so it running at 1440p or 4K is more in line with what this card is meant for, so that does make sense. So we're still using about 60-ish, 50 to 60% of our graphics card here at 1440p, but we're actually using more of our CPU, it seems. Or, well, I guess give or take the scenario, it might be more, it might be less. But now we're in the 50s. We are at 1440p though, so take that into consideration. Oh man, with the fire effects and everything going on, we're dropping into the 30s here. It is gorgeous though. I gotta give them that. It is a gorgeous experience, but whoo, they might have to do some optimization for this game. Drop it into the 40s at epic settings on 1440p on a 3080. Whoo! Let me know what you guys think about this game's optimization so far. Although we can't judge it too hard because it is in the alpha stage, so it's not like it's like a horrible experience or whatever. It is the alpha, so like that's that's so early in the development, I wouldn't even feel right judging it. Yeah, when there's a ton of AI going on and stuff like this, like we're in like the mid 30s here. Gorgeous game though, I gotta give him that. It is beautiful. It looks really nice, but performance-wise, it leaves a little to be desired, I suppose. But graphically though, oof, this game is very impressive so far. For an alpha, I like it. I really do. Alright, so we've seen a decent chunk of this game with 1440p here. Running about, I don't know, 30 to 60 FPS in that range. Like, it is definitely doing a good job, but it also leaves a lot to be desired in terms of frame rate. Like, I think they could definitely optimize it a bit further. But I think we're going to go ahead and switch over to 4K here in the middle of a battle because I'm the best teammate ever. Alright guys, so we are now running the game at maximum settings in 4K here. And in this one little interior section here, we're getting about 100 FPS, which of course, this interior section is never the final end-all be-all FPS, but it does look really good. It is running really smooth. We are using 80 to 90% of our 3080 finally, so it's actually flexing our graphics card finally, which is always awesome to see. So if you have a 3080 in your system, or any kind of high-end graphics card like a 2080 Super, 2080 Ti, 3070, anything like that, this game will probably not flex any bit of your hardware until you turn it up to like 4K. And even then, our CPU is barely being touched at like 30 or 40%. So it's, and this is of course just in the one little interior, but we'll see how it actually is outside. Let's go ahead and do that. Alright, so we're in the hallway section here of all these little apartments and stuff like that, and it's running in the 80s still, which is really nice, but we haven't actually seen the big horde yet. The big horde of zombies is about to show up here once we go up in this other section over here. Here we go, here's the giant wave of zombies that always drops our FPS down. And we're still in the 40s though, at 4K. This is actually really impressive. So we're still in the 40s at 4K. This is actually really nice running. Yeah, we're in the 40s at 4K. Like, we're not dropping that hard. I think we're finally at the point to where 4K takes a lot of the stress away from the CPU. So we're actually able to keep about that 40 to 50 FPS, even during a giant horde of zombies. So the 1080p performance of this game so far leaves a little bit to be desired, and same with 1440p to a certain extent, but the 4K is actually pretty good. And mind you, I'm actually using an older CPU here. I'm using an i7 6700K, so... like shooting fish in a barrel. Until I miss. Again. Here's the second big wave that usually drops our frame rate here, so let's see how it handles this. Still in the 40s, man. Still in the 40s. The game is looking freaking stellar too at 4K, man. It's a gorgeous game. I gotta give him that. For an alpha too, it looks really nice. Really smooth. Overall, a really playable experience. Like, I'm really enjoying myself here. It's not super buggy that I've seen. It doesn't have a lot of animation glitches or stuttering or anything like that. It's overall a really awesome experience. I'm totally going to take this fire axe, though. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Fire axe? Absolutely. Get over here. So, yeah, this is pretty playable at 4K, 40 to 60 FPS. Like, I'm having a really good time with this game. With everything going on, and it's still running really smooth. Looking beautiful. So far, really good, man. So I think to close out the 4K section here, we're gonna watch our teammate die, and he's dead. And so there you guys have it. There you go. There's a little bit of a glimpse into the Back 4 Blood closed alpha running at 1080p, 1440p, and 4K. My final thoughts on this is that the 1080p and even somewhat of the 1440p performance could use a little bit of work, because it was not utilizing our computer at all, but it was dropping to like the 60s at 1080p. So it could definitely use a little optimization in terms of like how much of your CPU/GPU it's actually going to use at the low resolutions. But in 4K, we were holding 40 to 60 FPS the entire way through during the high zombie activity moments, and even not during those moments, we were in like the 80s, 90s, and 100s. So like 4K is a beauty on this card in this game. It's a beauty so far. They have done a really good job optimizing that. I really liked what I played so far. I liked the level design. I liked the enemies, the sounds. I liked the weapons. They felt really like powerful. I liked them a lot. There was no like weird animation glitches or stuttering or any like weird beta alpha like weirdness that you would normally have. This was actually pretty smooth, especially for an alpha. It was pretty smooth for an alpha. So I enjoyed it. I hope you guys did too. Thank you very much for watching. If you guys are new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. And if you guys liked the video, hit that like button. That'd mean a lot to me if you guys did. And I will see you guys back here in the next video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Bye!